Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 19th of August, comes to you from London. And the big move this morning is the oil price. We're down 2.3%. Not a massive move normally for crude, but it's important today because it's taking us to a lower low. So here we have the higher high. You can see that there. The lower high, and then the lower low. So that's really important that we've basically seen that lower high, then the lower low. That's taking us through to a trend change. Cloud charts effectively trap that lower high, lower low situation, showing us the trend change. We're bearish here, and we were bearish to clients this week on crude oil, and here we see we've got a target 14% lower, 6% lower on the 60-minute chart, and 2.6% lower on the 1 minute. That's the very short-term chart. And the seasonality for crude oil is such that it tends to fall in the second half of the year, what is known as the summer driving season, and then the fall away. And that's a predictive based on the previous years. This is based on the last 10 years. That's what it's done on average over the last 10 years. So we're seeing crude oil changing trend. This is the very first signs really that we've got a clear change in trend. So that's just a thing that's come up today and well worth watching. Taking a look now at the general mix, we see a lot of red on the screen. Market sentiment is falling. The dollar has pushed higher. As we suspected, it would make this new higher high. So unlike crude, we've seen the higher low and the higher high. This is the Dow theory playing out, and we are now looking at 1 year highs for the dollar. So the dollar picture is starting to look more and more bullish. This is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market, and we've got short-term targets taking us some 2% higher on the dollar. That means the euro is looking weaker. So we're seeing that euro weakness creeping in, and the Japanese yen, we're seeing here the dollar holding that sort of 110 level, so looking strong there. The yen is normally a risk-on trade element as well. So we're seeing sterling sitting at 137, lower against that stronger dollar, and if we look at sterling against the euro, the rate is fairly static at around 117. Bitcoin is sitting at $44,000, so we're seeing a little bit of a sentiment change there as well. Still long-term and medium-term bullish, but short-term we're bearish. The S&P was down 1% yesterday, so that's looking weaker now. We're starting to see a move through the cloud on the short-term chart. And if we look at the futures this morning, we're 0.7% lower. So it looks like this sell-off is going to continue. And we're seeing the Nasdaq also lower. And most interestingly, the VIX volatility kicking right up. This is the fear index, remember? So we've moved into medium-term bullish territory there. So this is a sign that markets have become fearful. The FTSE future is down 1.4% this morning. The DAX in Germany down 1.4%, and the CAC 40 is down 2%. We saw sell-offs in Asia as well. Tokyo down 1.3%. The Hang Seng down 2.5%, so falling away there. India, normally resilient, was down only 0.25%, and the Aussie market was down 0.5%. So we're seeing markets, and that's turned to short-term bearish as well. So we're seeing the markets just generally not looking great. This is filtered through to the commodities. Stronger dollar doesn't help there, but we're seeing sugar down 1.4%, wheat down nearly 1%, corn down 0.75%. And if we look at gold, that's been relatively resilient. Of course, it's a flight to gold if there's a bit of a risk in the market, but we're down slightly here in this sort of sell everything environment. And silver down 1% has really not performed well lately, and looking lower there. Platinum down 1.7%, so falling away there on precious metals, and then palladium down 0.69%. US 10-year yields back to 1.24%, so falling lower on the short-term 10-year bond yield, and we see here we're bearish on the medium term, just holding the long-term trend change at the moment. If we get a new high, that will activate a target to 1.75%. And that means that German Bund is actually up. So 170 was the critical level there. We've recovered back into the range. It will be interesting to see whether the German bond can make a new high. That's something that we will look for. But for the moment, we are range bound there. Looking at Brent crude, we've just talked about that. Similar picture, of course, for WTI, down 2.8% this morning. That's getting ready to fall through the cloud as well. If we look at US nat gas, $3.80, that has looked more bearish this week as well. Coal pulling back. There's really sort of selling going on across the board. Emissions 1.3% lower. So the energy mix is suffering really. We're seeing gas prices falling away. Of course, still holding trend, but we're seeing that volatility on the 60-minute chart. This is my daily and my 60-minute. My my daily, 60-minute, and 1 minute. So we're seeing that real volatility kicking in. MBP yesterday from 117 down and to 102. So really big moves there on the market. And a lot of volatility kicking in, and this trend, when you see volatility at the end of a trend, that's generally the sign that trend is coming to an end. So it'll be very interesting to see where we go next. TTF similar, of course, not through the cloud yet, but we saw a lot of variation in the price yesterday. Keep an eye on these 1 minute charts on your OTC data. That's going to be pretty critical. Looking at the seasonal, we saw volatility kicking in here as well. We've held the trend, but just keep an eye out on that in the coming days. And German power also a little bit less volatility, but just struggling to hold that 85 level. Still holding the trend, but we do have downside targets of 81, 78 not yet activated. Watch these targets on your OTC data. That's going to be pretty critical. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.